Fine.
Whoa, we're being recorded.
Yep.
We are.
Oh,
All right, Jim, you're up.
Okay, so when it comes to knots, my philosophy is to learn a few knots. Simple ones are often just as effective as the fancy, complicated ones. Learn a few knots and learn how to tie them, because when we're on the water, you want to be able to tie those with the least amount of muss, fuss, and aggravation. I mean, the first law of fishing is the fish are in the water. And if you want to catch those fish, your fly has to be in the water. So all that time you spend trying to tie knots that you're unfamiliar with is all time that you cannot catch fish. So I basically use three different knots. I use for a loop-to-loop connection, I use a perfection loop. For a monofilament to monofilament connection, I use a surgeon's knot. And when I tie my fly onto the tippet, I use a nail knot. And I'm going to demonstrate four, because there's a surgeon's loop knot that's probably the easiest, simplest loop knot to tie. So I am going to, I'll start out with that. So to get started, I'm still here. To get started, a little bit of definition here. You got your line, you got your tag end. Your tag end is the end that you can touch the tip to. You got your running end. That's all the line that's going towards your reel. And then you have a bite. And the bite is simply you fold it over and you kind of have a loop here. So I have a tag end, a running end, and a bite. So that first, the surgeon's loop, you're going to start out with a bite. And then you're going to take that bite and you're going to make a loop. So it's just a very simple loop. And then you're going to take the bite and you're going to pass it around the back and through your loop, which leaves you with the simplest knot in the world. That's an overhand knot. Now, to turn that overhand knot into a surgeon's knot, you're going to take that bite and you're going to go through one more time. So you've gone through twice. And then it's just a matter of tightening it up and pulling it together for that. Now, one thing that I've heard as far as a disadvantage to that knot is when you tighten this up, your loop is going to go off at an angle. I'm not convinced that makes any difference. But if you're looking for an advantage of a perfection loop over the surgeon's loop, that's the only one that I know of. So that's, like I say, that's just going to be the simplest loop knot to tie. For years, I've tied a perfection loop, and I can't even explain why I go with that as opposed to the surgeon's loop. It's just, again, it's a knot that I learned, and I just kept with it so I can tie them very quickly. So I'm going to start out with the line again. You're going to take that line and you're going to make a loop, and your tag end is going to come behind your running end. So you can see that. Okay, so you make one loop, and then you're going to do another loop. You're going to do that around your thumb and come from behind. So this loop is going around both the front loop and the back loop. Then you're going to bring this up through between those two loops. So I'm going to do that again. Hopefully it'll be a little clearer next time. Okay. One loop, two loops. We're going to bring that right in between the two loops. Hold that all together. Then you're going to take the front loop and you're going to pull it through the back loop and hold on to the tag end, the running end, and the bite. And you're just going to tighten that all up. And like I say, I'm sure the reason they call it the perfection loop is once it's tightened up, the loop will sit right in line with the line itself. But again, functionally, I don't know that that makes any difference. So that's the perfection loop. So whenever I'm doing loop-to-loop connections, and I'll do that sometimes with my tying my tippet onto the leader, I'll do loop-to-loop just for no other reason to minimize how much leader I cut off every time I tie on a new loop. Let's see, but when I tie my fly on, I use a nail knot. So I use this nail knot because, again, if I'm using 6X tippet, I can just barely hear it. I can just barely see it and I can just barely feel it. So this just makes things a little easier. It's a little tool. It's called the tie fast. And there are other tools that'll do it, but this is the one that I use. Just got a little flat spot here. And then another little flat spot here. At the end, there's that little groove right down here. So I'm going to take my fly. I'm going to bring my line through the eye of the fly. Then I'll put the fly on the nail knot tool. So what you do is you put your hook right in here, and that holds the fly in here. So now I can hold that in the palm of my hand. You see this little flat spot right here? You're going to put your thumb on that, and that's going to hold the line in place. And then you're going to bring your line so it's coming down through that little groove right there. And again, we got, this one is my running end. This is my tag end here. Tag end, you're going to pull it down and we're going to wrap it around. Once we get to this point, I'm going to put my finger on there to hold that in place. I'm going to wrap it around a second time. Wrap it around a third time. Wrap it around a fourth time. Then we're going to take that tag end and we're going to put that, run that under through all those 4 loops and out towards the front where the running line is. Come on. Let's go. I'm not sure it's going to fight me now. Here we go. I'm going to pull that all through. I'm going to hold on to the tag end, the running end, and you're going to have the hook is on the tool. I'm going to pull those loops off. And then you pull up on the tag end and the running end at the same time till that knot tightens up. And then you're going to let the tag end go and bring it down to the hook. And this supposedly is one of the strongest knots that you can tie. The only disadvantage is if you get your hook caught on something and you can't get it, you're going to have to break it off. You're not just going to lose the fly, you're going to lose your tippet too, because this nail knot is stronger than just about any way that you can connect your tippet to your leader. Now, I have started a new system on my leaders where on the end, I tie what's called a tippet ring. So let's see if we can get a good picture of it. It's just a simple metal ring here. And so here's my leader, and I'll tie that ring on with a nail knot. And then I'll tie my tippet on with a nail knot. So now the knot that's tying my tippet onto the leader is just as strong as the knot that's tying my fly on. Plus you have the added advantage, just like if you're doing a loop-to-loop knot, that every time you replace your tippet, you just cut it off the ring and then you tie a new one on. And you're not chewing up, 4 to 6 inches of your leader every single time you tie on a new one. And quite honestly, some of the places that I fish, I spend a lot of time tying on new tippets and stuff. You get down to Blue Springs Creek or Mill Creek, and you got bushes and trees overhung everywhere. And so I'm going to be tying a lot of tippet on during the day, and that saves some of my leader. So that's basically it. That's what I got.
Yeah, I finally got in, guys.
Excellent. And Jim, that was awesome. I think I was tying along as you were going, and I think that's, so I'm pretty sure you're going to get inquiries as to the nail knot tool. Okay. So I'm surprised. Terry's always our internet looker, and so he's probably already trying to find it on the internet if he doesn't already use it. And I know the Perfection loop is one of the first knots that I learned how to tie. Yes. And I think, it's again, just for a simple one, the tag end and how you describe that is great, because if you're not wrapping the correct around, then by the way, your loop won't stay locked. just letting you know.
Yeah. Tool's available on Amazon, by the way, if anybody's interested.
Yeah, well, I have it.
And has them as well. And Cabela's.
Well, that was fascinating, Jim.
Yeah, and again, that's not the only nail knot tool on the market. That's just the one that I use. But there's plenty of them.
Jim, did you ever tie the surgeon's loop with, instead of just going once around, twice around, and then the double loop, double inside the loop?
Double inside loop.
Yeah, you know how you go once around, then you bring the loop through twice?
Yeah.
Instead of going just once around, go twice around and then bring the loop through twice. Have you ever tried it that way?
No.
Yeah.
Does that make for a stronger knot?
I think it does, but then again, hey, I'm from Nebraska, so what did I know?
Well, it makes sense. Generally your knot is going to be the weakest part of your line, and you got more heft there. So yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I've never tried
Tenkara fishing with those really heavy lures and stuff you throw, and you need those big knots.
You're right. Yeah. You need those really strong knots, because the fish that we catch are so much bigger than what you guys normally catch for the Western Twilight.
Oh my God! Here we go. Another fish story.
Yeah, one of those fish trees.
Oh, you mean you guys actually catch fish there?
Oh, that's a low blow, Terry. Thank you.
Yes, and they're this big too.
Well, you know that I don't catch fish, so.
Oh yeah, John.
Yeah, I can't brag.
Terry, the places I spend most of my places that I spend most of my time fishing, I don't brag about the size of the fish, because I'm constantly catching, 4, 5, 6, 8, 8-inch fish. An 8-inch fish is a monster where I fish. So
Yeah,
that's fine. I enjoy those. They're
same
pretty.
thing here, Jim. Nebraska is the same way, you know, and you know, an 8-inch bluegill will tear you up.
Yes, it will.
And that's why I like Tenkara, because the rod was designed for small fish, below less than 12 inches, and it's a lot of fun. You get a 16-inch on it, and you got an issue.
Oh, I'm not talking about bluegill. I'm talking about trout that are 4 to 6 inches.
Yeah, brook trout.
Yeah, that's what I catch out west. So
these are rainbows.
Oh, rainbow.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
You're raiding the nursery.
Well, yeah. So the deal is that they are wild fish, and they are all very small streams, and the streams are just not big enough. Doesn't have enough fat water for the fish to survive, especially in the summertime. So there are some big fish in those streams, but probably 60 to 80% of them are less than a couple of years old. So, you know, you can spend all day catching 8-inch fish. And if you catch a 12-inch, that's a monster. I once saw a 14-inch come out, and one time I latched onto a 17.5-incher and brought them in. So they do get big, but you know, like I say, 80% of the fish are 4 to 8 inches.
If you like small streams, there's a YouTube channel that you might really enjoy. It's called the Tenkara Addict. Now, yeah, he is a Tenkara fisherman, but he fishes small streams in Idaho and Montana.
Wow.
That's all he fishes. And that's exactly what he catches, the 6 and the 8 and the 10-inch fish. And he posts a new video every single week. And the guy is just absolutely amazing. It's fun to watch.
Cool, my kind of fishing.
Yep. Yeah, that's fun. Well, I just tried it. I tried the other way that John recommended of going through the circle twice, Jim, like an extra time on there. Mm-hmm. It does lie a little bit more flat, but I don't know. I mean, I understand. It actually straightens itself back out, and I'm not sure why. So I'm still messing with it. Cool. But anyway, very cool. So we've got, I think, Walt, are you set up on your camera? I think you were going to do, wasn't the Davy knot? Do you have a Davy knot?
Great.
Is he still on, or did he drop off?
He's there, but he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said he had a hard time jumping on tonight.
Yeah, he's there, but not.
Oh, he must be grabbing stuff. Well, maybe we can come back and grab him. If anybody else have any knots that they want to show, questions on knots.
I saw one about 4 years ago, and I haven't been able to find it. Some guy developed a knot that lets you tie fluorocarbon onto monofilament. That's always been a problem. And has anybody ever found that knot? It was a special knot, and I haven't been able to find it. I found it once on YouTube, and that's it.
Now, I'd be curious on that one. But usually on some of those smaller ones, I'm ended up just dropping down and doing a loop to loop, honestly. Just because that's the easiest for me, and finger wise, it's the easiest one to get those two connected. If you're trying to connect a mono then to your tippet. Is that what it was kind of referencing, John, as far as that step down or switching?
Yeah, I finally gave up and just use super glue now.
Yeah, on those, I usually just use a blood knot. You can use that same tool that Jim showed. And it's like doing a nail knot both directions almost. You just, when you finish tying the line one direction, you just put them back in the tool the opposite way and use the remaining tag in from the other side, do it the other direction, and that really anchors the two lines, particularly if they're a significant difference in the diameter. It's good for doing a blood knot.
my question on that, as far as with trying to do that, because Jim showed it with a hook and with a fly on it, but if you're connecting line to line, will it still sit in that tool in the channel the same? It's just not anchoring
you
it
just
in
don't
with
have
the hook.
the hook there. You just put both lines up that on that
Yeah.
larger flat spot that Jim said your thumb's holding the line down. Well, that's all you got. You get the two lines through those ears and you hold it down with your thumb, get them down through the little small gap at the point, and you wrap the tag in that way and back through just like he showed.
Right.
And you can snug it down to where it pulls tight, and then you just reverse the lines. Now you put that knot you just tied back up just above that flat area, hold it down, and you use the opposite tag in, and you do
Okay.
that knot again. So you got the two knots and they just slide together to hold. And it's so
Yeah,
it's good, particularly
and
if
I have done
you
that
jump
too.
diameters of your line a little bit, or you don't have another tippet and you've attached a few too many flies, and now you're wanting to put a little leader on the end of it, and you're going, wow, I'm really mismatched in diameter here, but that's all you got to work with. It's a good knot to pull out.
Terry mentioned that a few weeks ago, that's what he uses, especially with the saltwater fishing. And I looked it up, and there's a couple of YouTube channels that show you how to do that too. So
Very cool. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out, because I think that's one of the things too, is I learned the nail knot where, you know, almost like with the straw method, I'm not pulling that out on the water, you know, where it's like you're really old school at using the nail or something to create those two little triangles to feed your line one way and feed your, no. So I've always just shied away from nail knots on the water. You know, as far as I always thought it seemed too cumbersome, but I'm pretty much, I'm liking this gadget thing. I'm going to have to look into it.
Yeah, I see Walt's there, but like I say, I normally use, you know, my little tie-it tool to hold the hook. Makes it easy to spin for doing just a clinch knot and stuff, but I still keep just tucked away in my bag that very same tool, because you can tie quite a few different little knots with this. It's a handy tool to kind of keep in the bottom, dig it out when you need it if you're not using it all, even if you're not using it all the time like Jim is.
That's awesome. All right, Walt, we see you. Can you hear us? And did you want to do the Davy knot?
Sure. Okay. I don't know if you want me to use my little camera or just go online. I don't.
I'm thinking that the camera, if it's handy, just either that or you're going to have to tie holding up so we can see it. Oh, there you go.
How's that?
Yep. Perfect.
Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Okay, I got a bigger hook. It's a red line. Basically, it's quite simple. You have your hook. Let me try to get it focused in on it. And you go up from the top down, pull it through, then go back up above the.
Welcome to McFly.
Go back up around it, go down under it, grab it, and you're going to get I can't do this. You're going to get it looking like this. And you just pull on it. Make sure that the tag is at 90 degrees. Pull on it, and you cut it off. Now here's on a 24 hook.
See, a little out of focus.
Okay. How's it?
Try to keep coming in on it, Walt. I think you may get it in.
Okay, this is on a 24. Can you see it now?
Kind of.
There's no hook on, there's no knot. And it's so strong that you basically,
Wow.
you got to break the hook before.
Yeah, you'll break the hook before the knot.
So Walt, the way you're holding that right now with your hook, and
Yeah.
and so that camera view was good. Can you redo that again? Because otherwise we were watching your knuckles. Could you turn a little bit more? I think we got the figure 8 part of it, but could you do that one more time so we can see it again, please?
All right, hang on.
Because that was perfect how you were holding that 24. We could see that. So it's almost, yep, there you go.
Hang on.
We just got to take the big tools to get that knot off.
Okay, basically.
Well, I tie the Davy knot for sizes 18 and smaller.
Yeah, but if you go ahead, you could use it for other ones. So you go through the top.
Yeah.
Grab it, then take the tab and go back up over it again. So you take it up over, bring it through.
Yeah.
Down. And down. And then bring it back through the loop again. Hold it, and you're going to get that figure 8, and you just tighten.
Wow.
It's quite simple. Now they said, now there's a, that's one of the knots. Now for a larger, like a Klaus Minnow or something else, there's a double.
Yeah, the double Davy. Yeah.
That's what I use.
Yeah. For larger, a little bit larger than 18.
With the double, you go down through the hook, you bring it up over the top, through the line, then up, under, or through the, and that's a single, but once you have it that way, then you bring it around the top again and pull on it, and that's a double. And that's for a larger fly. But I don't know if everybody saw what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could see it that time.
But like on a...
Yeah, that was better.
Now they said you could use these little...
Hackle pliers.
Thank you very much.
That's what I use too.
I had a brain fart, so leave me. Okay, if you use this, basically you just go in and grab it if you got.
That's what I was going to show. I was going to piggyback you.
So basically, if you use you go in, pull it around the top.
Check.
Through the loop, and then hold it, and then you can take your.
We're seeing a lot of knuckle.
Oh shit! Okay, Terry. How's that better?
I can't see it. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Okay, hold it and bring it around through. And if you kind of hold it, you can go in with your hackle pliers and grab it, or you can just, I just like grabbing it.
Yeah.
I think it's a simpler knot than the Klaus. It's very strong.
I read where it's stronger than the improved clench knot.
If you guys are interested, I mean, it's good to hear it talked about. but this is an excellent website to go to, Animated Knots.
Yeah.
And it really does a good job of stepping through.
Oh, yeah.
A knot, and you can replay it. It shows it real good. And it is simply animatedknots.com. And it has a good variety of knots to look at, try out if you know, some that might seem interesting.
Well, you can go on YouTube with the daisy knot, and it'll tell you exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
It just takes a couple tries, and you do it. I haven't done it on any. I haven't been out fishing, but I'm sure I'm going to lose a bunch of flies when I do it down the road. Okay, that's it. Anybody have any questions?
I was just going to kind of piggyback on it real quick. Let's see if I can.
Outstanding. Thanks, Walt. All right.
Anybody else gonna?
Yeah, I was going to try to piggyback that, but
there you go. We got your picture.
You got it. I'm trying to pin it.
Yep.
So, kind of see again, like you were saying, I got the tag end down.
Right.
And I'm just trying to see if you could see it. That's probably a little bit better. And your tag end gets closer to you. You know, so it's between your hook and the running. So it's kind of opposite of what you're seeing, and you go up above it.
Go through it.
You go through it, and then you loop back.
Loop it back to the bottom portion.
Yep. Now, the cool thing that I like about this is if you don't want to lose a lot of your tippet, this little tag end, you pinch it right near the eye. That's all you're going to lose.
Wow.
You don't lose a lot of your tippet when you do that.
That works.
So it goes on quick and you don't lose a lot of tippet. And then what Walt was saying that I like too is using the hackle pliers. Let me just feed this through again. Is if you just use a hackle from the start, it makes it real easy. And the cool thing with this knot, you can make your loop huge because you are going to pull all that back. So again, with the hackle, you could do it to the point where with the hackle pliers, you get it through. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over the top again. This was at double, but then I'm just keeping it right there. And there again, you're only losing a little bit of the tippet, which I really like because I'm cutting down on my tippet. I change my flies a lot, and that you could do better than that too. And it's a quick knot. And if again, I had, you know, bought the knot needle for $20, but these hackle pliers work just as good. But that's not that Walt uses. I use it as well. Pretty quick.
Does anybody want a partially used catfish hook that I took the bars off?
Save it for more videos.
There you go.
All right, outstanding. Thanks, Mick, and thanks, Walt. I'm going to show an improved clinch knot, and this is one of my go-tos. And I think there's a couple things also. So nobody's been licking their line. Just to let you know, that's usually common practice, right? Is just you're trying to pull that knot in and you give it, you know, just lick it. But I'm going to show, I'm hoping you can see. So I've got a monster hook on here. And I just took old fly line and going through. And on this one, this is easy for me because where I can position the hook in my hand. And so right now I'm doing it kind of two-handed, but I can actually do this one-handed. Same with what both Mick and Walt said, as far as trying to I don't want to lose a lot of tippet after I have it tied on here. But I'm coming through over. Usually I have some sort of a cadence number, 5, 7, whatever it is. I'm going to go back through that hole, and then I'm coming back up through again on this one. So same thing. This, I hope it works with this, because normally at this point I lick it, I don't spit on it. But I guess if it's your fly, but it is something where that does help it pull all the way in, and again, give kind of that close all the way up in. I haven't lost a whole lot of my tippet, and then I can come in and do that cut as well, as close as possible. And I like the improved clinch knot. This one, again, using fly line. It looks a little bit sloppier. I like when it comes down and it just buttons up right on top. Big part is pull on your running line, not on your tag line. So if you pull on your tag line, you've actually compromised your knot some. Take it from error. It's a true. So other than that, that's the improved clinch knot's almost my go-to on. And again, it usually buttons down a little bit more, almost like a nail knot, very nice and smooth on there. But
Amy, I've been using that knot for over 50 years. I have never had a knot come undone. I've never had a fish break it off. I teach it to all the kids when I'm out with the youth fishing instructor. Yep. It's the best knot I have ever used, and I will stay with it forever.
And I think a lot of it, because when you know when your knot isn't tied, and we pull up and we've lost a fish off, and it has a little pigtail at the end, and you're like, darn it, it's the knot, and it's actually the knot tire on that. But it is something where you've got to have confidence in your knots, because if it's just frustrating. It's frustrating to get out there and you're going to get breakoffs no matter what, just with big fish, or, you know, again, you're on a log or something else. But having confidence in your fish, or having confidence in your knot, does kind of slow down your heart rate a little bit. Again, this one's easy. It's got, you know, the running line, what Jim had talked about, your tag line coming through, and it's over. You're just feeding this over. So I can hold all of this in my hand and do this like this without having to move my fingers on a fly and come up through. And then it's just one back through again. And cinching it in again in it. There you go. Well, a little bit more, but it stacks up and it's all lays. I'm going to practice now, because now this is going to drive me nuts that it didn't lay down how I wanted it to. And I practiced it, of course.
Amy, I will say that I have had problems.
Well, you got to lick it.
I know, you got to lick it. You've just got to lick it.
I have had problems.
We're using fly line that's not really designed to slip through itself.
I know.
But I'll tell you.
And then I was trying, and I know.
I have had problems with just a straight clinch knot on tippets below about 5X. Yep. They have pulled out, and that's when I go to the improved. And I've never lost a fish on a small tippet with the improved.
That's why I actually switched over from just the regular clinch knot, and you know, the latest and greatest, of course. So you hear improved, and I thought, oh, okay. And it's really just one more turn and coming back through that. Here, I think this is like a 45 mono. It still won't do the same. It's just not made for that. But and then you come back through. But again, I think there's so many different, and a lot of it too, at my previous job, I used to sit on a headset a lot of times, and I would actually just sit and practice my knots. I'm going to break my vice trying to do this one. I'm going to go back to my 6X and tie it on my regular tippet. But great information on knots. And again, practice, because it is not fun to pull up that pigtail and realize your knot failed.
Yeah, you know, like you say, when you tighten up the knot, you want to lick it. The other thing that you want to avoid is to pull it up too fast. Because if you pull it up too fast, or it, you know, and that's another reason that you lick it, you give it that lubrication. If you pull it up too fast, you're going to burn the line, and your knot's going to be compromised right at the beginning. So just pull it up and slow and deliberately, and you know, then give it a tug at the end. But don't give it a quick jerk. You're going to have problems.
Yep. a great tip on that too. And I think that was something as far as with the running in and tagging and knowing what you're thinking about. Because the other one was the loop to loop connection. And I love the perfection loop. But if you're not actually wrapping the tag around deliberately and making your loops, yeah, it's basically you're just wadding up a bunch of it won't stay for anything. But that's a great one to also just knowing them, just not for the expert level, but just for your satisfaction and more enjoyability out on the water. Because if you don't know them, it does become kind of like, well, I hope this one works, and it becomes frustrating. So anybody else on anything on knots at all?
Well, not so much knots. It's a simple thing, and I'm sure all of you guys know this, but I know when I first started, just getting some more leader off the reels frustrated me, and always looked at the little elastics and why the heck that had that blasted little grommet with a hole in it, and that you feed the leader up through the hole. And then when you want some leader, you simply grab it and you can gently just let the reel spin, pull off what you want, clip it, leave a little tag in for the next time you want to pull some out. And so I always buy them to where you can stack the various sizes of leader together. And that's why you see them on those carriers and everything else. But it took me a while before I finally figured out that was really the way you should be. You don't want to rip it out of there or you'll burn it and stretch it, but just a slow, gentle pull, and you can pull out what you need very precisely on the
Funny
string.
you should mention that, Roger. I just finished making about 6 of them this afternoon. So yeah, I love them. I use them on when I buy the regular rolls of fluorocarbon or the 2-pound fluorocarbon or any other thing. I make another one of those up and put it on, and makes everything. I always had problems with the line coming out of my my backpack, so that solved it.
Amy, have you ever tried just spinning the fly rather than wrapping the line for the cinch knot? I find that easier.
You know, I think that Roger actually loaned me a tool that he had where you spin the fly on there. And for some reason I felt a little bit challenged on trying to make that work, because the fly is always in my left hand. And so I'm more comfortable with flipping that over the other way. I just haven't practiced it enough, but I know a lot of people do that. I mean, as far as they just spin the fly in their hand and then back, they're done.
Yeah. That's the tool. The only thing I found with this tool, technique wise, is if you keep too much tension on the line when you're spinning the fly, wrapping the tag and ends together, you'll end up with no gap at the hook when you're trying to put that tag in back through. But if you keep the lines loose, just slightly loose, not actually tension on them, when you spin it, you will end up with a nice gap between the lines right by the eye of the hook, and it's very easy to take that tag in back through. Then the natural tendency on this holding the hook would be to keep a lot of tension while you're spinning it, but it's counterproductive.
Yeah, that was the one where I kept thinking, am I right-handed or left-handed? I couldn't. I tried it for 2 days. I think I tried Roger's tool, and after that I'm thinking, okay, I can't quite. So I have another question. When it goes to, we've talked about knots and everything else, opinions and thoughts on, so a down facing eye, do you go in through the top or do you go in through the bottom to tie your knot?
Up.
How many videos do you see? Yeah, I was gonna say, how many videos, because I think that's one of the confusing things. You get a different looking hook, and you're like, well, do you go up or do you go down or what? Anyway, I just wanted more comments on it, just to see if there's actually any rhyme or reason to our thoughts.
Does it make any difference?
I don't know.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. I've never even thought of that question. I can't imagine that it would make any difference.
Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't think so.
I usually put the tippet through the side of the hole, the hook that I can see enough gap in.
There you go, John.
There you go.
I got a generic question, and that's how many of you guys use a knot that leaves the hook loose on the end of the line that actually results in a small loop on the end of the line to let the fly, float a little through. What knot do you use?
Roger, are you talking about a non-slip monoloop?
Yep.
Yeah, Roger, I do. Yeah, sometimes I'll do, and I'll use a perfection.
Yeah, I use that. Yeah.
Yep. So who's gonna give us a sample of that one? Because that's a great one also, especially for woolly buggers or streamers, anything like that.
Minnows. Absolutely.
Yep.
Next time I'm on the stream, I'll take a picture of it, but I can't do it sitting in a chair.
Do you know what it's called? The name?
Non-slip loop knot.
The knot?
Yeah, I just use a perfection knot.
Tide.
No. Are we still talking about the non-slip monoloop?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Non-slip loop knot.
Yeah, I've seen this in this animated knots, and then there's a rappella knot that's similar. So,
if you're fishing streamers, I fish a lot of streamers, and I use the non-slip loop knot frequently because it allows the fly to have a little more movement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not tethered.
Right.
So it's called the non-slip loop knot. That's the official name? Okay.
No, well, non-slip monoloop. It was one that Lefty Cray promoted a lot.
I found it on the animated knots. There's a couple there. So non-slip mono knot is what they call it, but I'll have to give it a try. It's nice to know ones that people use and have like it. Usually means it's maybe a little more easily tied stream side than others.
Is that a paid app?
No, it's free. Animatedknots.com.
I have a question for you guys. Does anybody have opinions on using what's the stuff that's like monofilament but is supposed to be clearer or whatever?
Fluorocarbon.
Fluorocarbon. Yeah. Does anybody use that? And
I
use that on my regular fishing rods.
Okay, so and what do you think the advantage of using that is?
It's supposed to be invisible.
Well, it's not totally. It has a refraction index of water almost.
It's invisible when I try to tie the knot with it.
For me, Jim,
that's because you can't see, Walt.
I get more strength out of a smaller diameter line.
Yes.
So I can use a 2-pound tippet, and it's about the same as a 7X. But yet it's got about a 2/1000th diameter more.
Oh, that's a good idea. Cool.
Yeah, the disadvantage is that it's not as resistant to rough rocks and things like that. It will break on you if you're bringing it across rocks and things like that. And so it's not abrasion resistant like mono is.
Okay.
I thought it was more abrasion resistant.
I did too.
Yeah, I did too.
Well, maybe I'm wrong.
That's what you get for thinking.
You got to quit fishing those rocks, John.
we're trying to catch fish, not rocks.
Yeah, that's what it is, I guess. That's that thing, Kara.
It's a rock bass.
I used to catch them.
Fluorocarbon is supposed to float better too. So if you're using dries, it has better float.
Well, it's the same on the refraction of light. And so when I fish dry flies, I'm usually using fluoro. And then especially when I do on dry on a duo. So I have 2 dries on there. But if I'm doing a dropper, I switch over to mono. And I didn't think much about it. I I think again, it's like our knots. It's what it feels like it works better. And then one of the things that I did notice is that on bright sunny days, it seems to make a little bit of a difference for me. And I think it's just something where now I don't do my entire liter of fluoro. I mean, that first off, you can get into a whole different thing of that, but I really did find, but fluoro for dry, and then the mono, it seems to be, and I guess it's something to do with the light, the water, it's a nylon kind of plastic material basically. But I think it is something where it's how the light hits it, but I don't think it is a day breaker if you don't have fluoro and you're using dry. I think, if you're using mono and fish in faster water, then it does help on that with dry flies. I mean, you can go with mono on there too. So, but yeah, I actually switch. I didn't for a long time. And then I was trying to understand all the different, and that's what we talk about, all these, this is right, this isn't right. What do we do? That's why I was talking about the down eye or up eye. Who knew? But we have so many technicalities in fly fishing. Why shouldn't there be a specification of which way you're supposed to run your fly line on a downturn eye or up, so that's why I was asking the question.
Hey, I've got a question. I've got some old 6X fluorocarbon, easy for use, say. And then I've got some 6X standard tippet, both Rio or whatever. And the fluorocarbon wants to break a lot easier than the other stuff. So why do they call them both 6X?
That is a good question, Terry, because in fact, I sent Amy an email about 2 weeks ago because I was wondering the same thing. If you look at 2-pound fluorocarbon and 7X mono, they both have a breaking strength of 2 pounds. But the mono is 0.02 of an inch smaller than the fluorocarbon. And if somebody can explain to me how you can get two different materials of the same diameter with different and the same breaking, supposedly the same breaking strength and the same 7X, how they can have a different diameter. I've never, so yeah, I don't know.
It's in the plastic. Fluorocarbon is different than nylon. Yeah. So it's apples and oranges when you trying to say the diameter makes the difference. It's the pound full.
Like copper versus brass.
Yeah.
Or insulation.
Yeah. So the measurement of X is the diameter. It's not the tensile strength.
Yeah, but what's interesting is if you look at a 7X tippet, it's 2 pounds. It's a tensile strength. And if you look at 2-pound fluorocarbon, it's also a tensile strength of 2 pounds. Mm-hmm. But the diameters are significantly different. About 2,000, well, I guess significant isn't 2,000 of an inch isn't much. But you know, to a fish, I don't know if it'll make any difference to the fish or not, that 2,000 of an inch, but I don't know.
That confuses me.
Yeah, I
really does.
Fish with it.
If you got 6X of mono, 6X of fluorocarbon, it's the same diameter. Got to be. That's the way it's made.
I don't care. I don't care about the diameter. I want the breaking strength because I'm tying both of these on and I'm breaking it so easily off of the hook on the same knot.
The breaking strength of mono and fluorocarbon vary from manufacturer to manufacturer.
Yeah. Oh, I have a bunch of old fluorocarbon that's probably 10, 20 years old. Does it have a shelf life?
Oh, no.
That's what you just.
That's your problem. Get rid of it.
Don't be so cheap, Terry.
No.
Buy some new stuff.
I like being
Fluorocarbons.
cheap.
Fluorocarbons, just
Where
like
it's the
you.
Amazon special.
You break a whole lot easier now than you used to 10 years ago, too.
Yeah.
Got that right. So,
well,
is there approximate shelf life on stuff
1
like
year.
that? You're
One-
kidding.
one-
Fishing trip, Terry.
1 year.
1 to
I'm
2
going to be
years.
throwing away
Yeah.
I'm thinking about 25, 30 rolls of tippet.
Well, and the difference is also, I mean, look at the conditions. If you leave your go bag in the car and it's just so that you can pull over and fish where it is, and then you go through winter extreme, summer extreme, 100 degrees, you're going to get shorter life out of everything. Just like the interior of your car, it breaks down over time. And then, but one of the things too, as far as, use it, that's why you bought it. But then, and how many times have we run our leaders all the way down just because we didn't want to tie on? We don't want to stop, and we don't want to tie on more tippet, just because we're on a hot streak. And then, you pay for that, but not necessarily 1 year. I mean, but it depends on the conditions of where you're storing it, different things too. We've talked about the little silica gels, making sure things are, kind of kept nice. Same for fly line. I mean, your fly line can last a pretty long time, but if you're not taking care of it, then it's not going to last you a year. So it's an investment on that part. But then again, good knots, maybe you're not tying on as much fluoro.
Terry,
Heat and
a couple
ultraviolet.
of years ago, I was fishing and I lost 6 fish in a row, and I couldn't figure out why. They were all breaking off until I looked at the tippet. The tippet was 2 years old.
Yep.
And it was gone. So I threw that reel. Obviously, I threw that reel away.
Well, and then the other thing is too, is keep in mind, the hooks that we use are prone to also rust. So if you leave your hooks and they're wet and you don't dry out your fly boxes when you get back from fishing, and all you have to do is just open them, but cleaning those off and making sure that the inside of the eye of your hook doesn't have rust in it. So sometimes it's not necessarily bad fluoro or mono. It might be just that you have an abrasion inside. So running something through that eye. Generally, I'll take another hook and actually go through and make sure that that's pretty clean too. But if you're seeing consistent and if it's more, if you can pull it in your hands with a decent strength on there and it's not breaking, and then you're putting in your hook and it's breaking, I would say that change your fly. That's where I would start.
I keep a patch of sheep's wool on my sling pack. And then when I get done using a fly and I take it off, I put it in that sheep's wool. The sheep's wool's got lanolin in it, which is an oil, which will help dry the fly and keep the hook from rusting. So just an idea.
Good idea. Thanks.
You know what? I go through my 6X pretty quickly. So I'm probably going to buy several spools in the course of a year. But my 1X and 2X that I use for my bass fishing, I don't go through it very often. And I'm sure if I went in my drawer, I could find some of that tippet that's at least 10 years old, and I've never had a problem with it. So a lot, like they said, a lot of it depends on, it sits in the drawer in a control, in a house rather than sitting in the car that's getting super hot and super cold all the time. So how, where you store it makes a huge difference.
Okay, another question then, if I'm going to buy, if I'm going to buy new tippet, so what's the, who's going to, let's poll, what's the best tippet?
Oh
boy.
Them fighting words.
That's right up there with who makes the best beer.
Out.
I'm going to highest bidder. No.
Hey, Terry, since you're a big internet user, if you look at, I just looked at it the other night. You can Google what's the best fluorocarbon, what's the best mono tippet, and best.
Okay.
So and trout
Trout hunter.
Trout hunter.
Trout hunter was rated
the best
#1.
Yeah, they have the best fluorocarbon I read, I think.
Fluorocarbon, right?
Yeah.
I think for run of the mill, an average one that won't break the bank. If you like Orvis stuff, I think as I've gone in before, and I mean I've bought, and even at the checkout had somebody say, "Oh, you went for the Gucci." You can get on the high end. I don't think it helps any more fish to the hoop. I think that it again is kind of understanding the break strength, but it's I don't know, Rio. I mean, you've got every other brand out there too, and I think it's what you get used to. It's what's easy for you to use. Like we talked about the elastic band and the grommet on there, and you keep it handy. You can find it. Some of the times those smaller spools, they get lost in the bottom of my bag, even though they're connected to something, and I can't find that small one. So I like something that I can see and find pretty quickly. But I would. We'll probably all send you our opinions on that, Terry.
Yeah.
So we don't.
Yeah, I always use.
Go ahead,
Jim. Yeah, I always use this Rio stuff.
Yep.
It's not because I think
that's what I use.
Better. I just like the dispenser. They nest.
They nest.
They're thin, and so. I buy it for the dispenser, not for the quality of the.
When I buy tippet, I look at the diameter and the tensile strength, and if I can find a 7X that's around 2 pounds, that's what I'll buy.
I think 7X is always supposed to be 2 pounds, but I guess that shows what.
Well, I thought it was too, but I was proved wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I like the nesting part that Jim just said to you, and so I typically keep the 4, 5, 6X, and I have them in, and I keep them in. And one of the funny things too is, so Roger was talking about how like running the line through the grommet, that would be the pilot way to do it. So I know he does that. If you guys ever want the hack way to do it, you pull off the elastic thing and you just shake your entire thing, and you can all of a sudden find the end of it. But yeah, I don't have enough patience for the grommet. I can never find like where the end of it is, and you're standing there, and again, cold weather's coming. So that is a funny. I had to laugh when he said the grommet. I'm like, oh yeah, that is what that's for. So follow us for more tips.
But just don't cut it off so dang close to the grommet that it disappears
there
inside.
You go.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's what I did too. And by the way, in case you didn't know, on some of them, and I'll switch my camera over too. So what we're laughing about in an emergency, and I saw Jess joined us. She's one of our new participants coming on board too. But in case, and nobody here has the hair long enough anymore, these make great rubber bands on the water if you lose your ponytail holder. And then the grommet thing that we're talking about is that middle part. But by the way, there's a little knife here that can cut your whole line, So, hey, it's kind of that one-stop shopping. That's the way I would shop for tippet and leader. All right. Well, this was a great conversation. I appreciate everybody's, test runs and doing the knots and everything.
There you go, John.
John's showing us his.
Now. And there's one of my self-made holders.
Yep.
Trilane. Yep. That's why I use that a lot, John.
That's awesome. And so anybody have anything they want to see for next week? For the flies?
Well, not for the flies, Amy, but let me just say that Mike Kelly is going to be tying some flies this Thursday on our Teams video. He's going to be tying some special flies. He's going to be tying some flies that were developed by a gentleman in England back about 100 years ago. He was what they called a river master. And he was responsible for keeping the river in good shape. And one of the flies that he tied to try and keep, of all things, the grayling population down. His name was Frank Sawyer. And the fly that he tied has come to be known as the Utah killer bug, which happens to be a very popular tenkara fly. What can I say? So a long way around.
Well, he had me going for a second, but I ain't going now.
John is about 100 years behind everybody, right?
He's going to be tying the killer bug, the gray goose, and one other, the pheasant tail that was popularized by Frank back about 100 years ago. So please join us 6 o'clock this Thursday on Teams.
Yep.
On Zoom or on Team?
Team.
We do it on Teams because we can get it and we don't have a time limit on it. Zooms, they limit us to 40 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, and the same, John does the same thing. John and Charles, they do the same thing. So same bat number every time. You don't need a different link. We've already sent out the emails before. You just go and click that one and you'll still be able to jump in on their calls. They've been doing just a phenomenal job. And and again, it's just something, I don't know, just feel like check it out. And then,
you know, I don't check my emails.
Yep, that would be a whole different thing.
Text me and I'll send you the link.
Yep, because he's nicer than I am, Chris.
I know retired.
You are. I'm retired. I'm retired, Chris. I don't have to worry about nice.
She calls me out all the time if somebody would check their emails. I'm like, who?
I probably do say that once or 16 times a week.
Absolutely. Even in text messages.
I know. So, but that's okay. I saw that you sent me a text message today and I actually took the full day off, believe it or not.
Oh my gosh.
So, I know. Well, it was a holiday, by the way. In case anybody wondered why they didn't get mail delivered today, it was because it was a holiday. But so next Monday, anything anybody would want to see, topics, conversations.
Like what's a good winter fly? I don't know what that would be because I just tie a bunch of random stuff. So
same fly you tie in the summertime.
That was going to be my answer, but I figured somebody would call me out on it, John. So thanks for saying that.
Hey,
is it white?
Well, it could be studs or something a little bit more.
I mean, the same fish, the same flies are there all year long. They don't change in the wintertime.
Yeah, I didn't know.
You can pull out more purple, Chris. Pull out more purple.
I've got a lot of purple.
Well, yeah, purple's always good.
Purple's a really good winter one.
Fly.
A white fly?
Yeah, a little bit 24.
Can't see it tie that.
44.
So yeah, we're not gonna be doing.
Do they even make hooks that size?
That's like the Emperor's clothes or something. We'll be just going, does anybody see it?
Great.
Yeah, I'm tying it. That's a great fly.
I don't know why I keep missing all these fish.
And all I think is, man, this is my first day.
We're gonna give you the 24. Make sure you can. We're gonna test all your skills here. All right. Well, I'll think on it. Winter flies, and next Monday, same channel. And so if I do not send out an email that we have class next week, we do. St. Louis, there's several people who are going to Huzaw, and we're going to try to get a float in on Sunday, and I'm coming back on Monday then. So I am probably not going to be on the email again next weekend. So just remember that we do have class, please. And then if I can, I'll send one out. But if not, we'll just see everybody next Monday.
All righty.
Jessica, nice to meet you. I will be, we'll be connecting.
I enjoy it.
Ask her about her email.
No, not yet.
I'll send it to her in a text, Chris.
Yes, Amy, are you going to be fishing Saturday?
All right, see you guys.
Yes.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
I'm
Because
fishing on Saturday.
I may only be able to come Saturday morning.
And it's up to you. I think Roger, we're getting down there, Roger, and then I'll be down there on Saturday. But we're not going to float or anything. We're just going to kind of putts on the beach, or just, I don't know. It's supposed to be like 45 or 50 degrees, maybe high of 65. And then Sunday is when, and right now I have one gentleman who does not want to float, and we have another brand new person who does. And so we're kind of short on the RSVPs, but if anybody wants to come down on Sunday, that would be great too. But come on out, Terry. You'll be able to find us. We're on the other side of the bridge. We're going to be on the zoo side, so I can send you more information.
Now, where is that?
There's two campgrounds there, Terry. One's on the west side of the bridge, and one is on the east side of that bridge, just as you get into the Huzaw Valley Resort. And
so do you cross the creek and then go left or right?
Yeah.
No.
You know,
so one's before and one's after.
Just a little bit. When you're going down the highway and you're approaching the resort, there's one to your left on the east side of the bridge over the river, and the main office and stuff. You go over the bridge and it's off to the right. But where we ended up getting sites is on the east side. You turn off just before the bridge, actually going down into that campsite.
Oh, okay. So
that's where we're camping.
Register. Do you have to go to the main site and register to go back to the east side?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. Just for a day, if you're just coming out for the day, I don't know, Terry. I can send you a text on that. I can find out more on that. But just to let you guys know, So we're camping in the zoo. Woohoo! We're in we're on the rowdy side. So I don't know. You might see Roger and I on the call next Monday, just like but anyway, so I guess there's a family thing going on the other side. So I don't know. Water conditions are great. We were down there. Well, I was there yesterday, but not at Huzaw Valley. I went to the conservation area yesterday. The water's running great. And then I think with this rain right now, it's not going to be overflowing or anything. It goes up and down pretty quickly, but it was clear and the fish were pretty cooperative. I really related when Jim said about catching branches and submerged stuff. I was doing streamers all day and there's a lot of them in the bottom of the river. That's all I have to say. I found a lot of underbrush, more than I had anticipated. But it was still good. Found quite a few fish to play. And so, if you come on out, that'd be great on Saturday.
So just so you know, what time you get here for the next 3 or 4 weeks?
Oh, is it grandkid duty again?
The first couple of 2 or 3 weeks are grandkids, and then we got a trip down to Echo Bluff. So
outstanding. Nice. Well, enjoy, Jim. That'll be awesome. We'll miss you. I think we're at Lane Springs at the end of the month as well. So we'll try to
be able to make that.
What time you getting?
Sure, I'll be able to make Lane Springs. I'll be home by then.
Okay, perfect. We'll see you then.
What time you getting to Huzaw?
On Saturday, probably. I mean, I'm not rushing. Probably 10 a.m. or something. But I think it's not a big. That water always plays the same all day long. It's not so. I mean, in that area anyway. And
I'm going down Friday.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So Roger will be there early.
All right.
Yep.
So if you go down and you're looking for me at the campsite, because its cell phone reception around there is terrible, except for just a few spots. I think my campsite number is 333.
You're on the east side before the bridge.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're in 325.
333. Okay. Very good. Try and get there Saturday.
Would love to see you. You're welcome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Night all.
Take care.
Night all.
See you.
Thanks, Mick.
You're welcome.
How's your shoulder? 100% yet?
Yeah, I'd say 100%, but working on the land last Friday, I think I'm learning my age. I can't be doing hard labor for 5 hours straight. I was brush cut and everything, and I was wiped out. I was at times like, okay, I got to stop. I'm in bed. So,
well, it was warm too.
Yeah, and it was using a brush cutter and a chainsaw for like 5 hours straight, and
oh no,
branches, and then trying to throw them into a big pile. It got too much. So I'm going again. We have to go back, or we might come through the Huza to see you guys on Sunday, but that's where we're going to be, is Sunday morning doing a little bit more work. We have to get to this. So I'm hoping we get done early, and then we could swing by just to say hi, hang out with everyone on Sunday. But that's.
So are you brush cutting, or are you cutting down trees, or what are you doing?
Both. I was brush cutting and cutting down trees, but the one area that I was trying to get to has vines with thorns. And even though I had, it was just too much. So it's all cut up, but I couldn't get it out. So I'm afraid that there's going to be some stuff in there that didn't get cut. So I'm going to do that roundup and nail it hard. I just want it all gone on my land. I don't want anything with thorns or anything like that. So we're cleaning up the area to then get it to where, it's easier to maintain. We kind of let it go. We let the gentleman we bought it from have it for a while, and he said he would kind of maintain it. It really wasn't. So now I'm kind of being a little bit more proactive on it. So we got to do a little bit of work, but I think Sunday will be the last day that we got to do something. So,
well, can you find somebody down there to do some of the heavy brush cutting?
What's that? You're both talking at the same time.
I said, have a barbecue with some beer and invite us all, and we'll come down and help.
Yeah,
I'll come down and drink.
Yeah, I would say the fishing down the road is a little bit better. We're 5 miles on the same road to Bennett. So if you've gone to Bennett by Highway 44 and you get off in Lebanon and you take that Highway 64 to Bennett Spring, you've seen my land. It's just, you're like, oh, that's mixed land right there. It's right across the street from the Dollar General, and it's got a big lake. So I'd invite you to go fish my lake, but Bennett is just a 5-minute drive down the street. So they've got.
What about the barbecued ribs?
Yeah, I could do some ribs. When I was cleaning up last Friday, I got there right before sunup, and I couldn't understand why I was seeing all these white little ghosts. And then I realized there are white-tailed deer on the property running away from me. I'm like, okay, we got some meat, we got ducks. We got crappie and channel catfish too. So
I have all that right here.
What's that?
I have all that at my place too.
Yeah, that's why I bought this. And then I got trout fishing.
2 hours. Hey, Ben, what on your website on the
YouTube?
On YouTube, what is the name of it now?
Fly Fishing with Mick.
Fly Fishing with Mick. Okay.
Yep, and all you're going to see is a green circle with an F on it, and just click on that, and then it has all our meetings.
Thanks a lot, Mick.
You're welcome. We'll see.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
So yeah, Fly Fishing with Mick, and you'll see a green circle with an F in it. Just click on that and you'll see all our smiling faces in all the videos I put out there.
All right, well, you need to come by and get that hair, whatever you get.
Yes, and so you know what? We might do that Sunday, because as much as I want to stop at the Huza, I don't think I will have a whole lot of time, but we could, because we will not have a trailer. And so I think we will do that. Plus, as I said, we bought something for you when we were at Montauk. We all saw something, we're like, that's for Walt. So we grabbed it. So we've got something for you. So yeah, I think we're going to bug you on Sunday.
Okay, well, I have all this. I have a whole container here. So you can pick out what you want.
Okay. We appreciate it. So look for something for sure, because the previous weekend we had issues with the trailer and I was struggling just to get it back. So I meant to give you a call and say, hey, we were having issues, but we're not bringing the trailer this time. So it should be a whole lot easier.
Okay. Well, I don't think we have anything going on. My kids from Atlanta are supposed